Fabrizio Romano tells manunited €45 million Brazilian midfielder would be an attractive signing. Fabrizio Romano has outlined the reasons why Manchester United should look at a potential deal to bring Atalanta defensive midfielder Ederson to Old Trafford in the summer transfer window. Manunited showed interest in signing Ederson when Ruben Amorim was in charge of the Premier League club. Amorim is no longer the manager of Manunited, but the Red Devils plan to delve into the transfer market this summer to rebuild their midfield. The Italian journalist has noted that Manunited were previously interested in the Brazil international defensive midfielder. Romano has outlined the reasons why the 26-year-old would be a good signing for Manunited, as Atletico Madrid refused to meet Atalanta's demands of €45 million, £39.2 million for the midfielder, despite having a deal in place with him. The Italian journalist said about Ederson and Manunited on his YouTube channel, "And then guys, keep an eye also on another player. And that name is Ederson, the Brazilian midfielder from Atalanta." Because what's happening with Ederson is that Atletico Madrid have an agreement with the player on personal terms already since February, March, but at the moment Atletico Madrid are not willing to pay what Atalanta want for Ederson. Atalanta start from €45 million, maybe could be negotiated around €40 million, something around that. But negotiating with Atalanta is never easy for any club. And so, now, from what I understand, Premier League clubs are also calling for Ederson. So, if Atalanta and Atletico Madrid are not able to close this deal for the Brazilian midfielder, keep an eye on the situation also with Premier League clubs, because you remember that Manunited were tracking him already when Ruben Amorim was the coach. He has always been appreciated by people at the club. Let's see if Manunited decide to return on this one. But Ederson could be attractive, because he's out of contract in 2027. Could be a very good opportunity. He's not on a crazy salary, so the salary could be a factor financially. You can get a very good player on a normal price in terms of the full package, salary, commission, and then obviously transfer fee, but Atalanta insist on €45 million. So, Premier League clubs also calling and attentive to the situation for Ederson. Atletico Madrid have an agreement with the player, but not yet with Atalanta. Atletico face Ederson transfer stalemate amid Arsenal and Manunited interest. Negotiations hit standstill in Madrid pursuit. Atletico Madrid's long-running chase for Ederson has drifted into uncertainty, with talks now described as being at an impasse. According to the original source, as discussions between Atletico, Atalanta and the player have stalled, leaving one of Europe's most sought-after midfielders in limbo as the summer window approaches. The Spanish club had identified Ederson as a cornerstone addition, a dynamic presence capable of anchoring midfield while driving transitions. Yet despite months of dialogue, and even what was reported as a verbal understanding earlier in the year, progress has unraveled at a critical juncture. As reports that negotiations are now at a standstill, both with Atalanta and with the player himself, a development that underlines just how fragile high-level transfer dealings can be. Atletico's hierarchy had hoped to secure the Brazilian ahead of pre-season, but the deal is now far from straightforward. This uncertainty has not gone unnoticed elsewhere. Clubs across Europe are monitoring the situation closely, including Arsenal and Manunited, both of whom have been linked with strengthening their midfield options. Ederson's appeal is obvious, a modern all-action midfielder. He blends defensive steel with technical composure and an ability to carry the ball through pressure. His performances for Atalanta have elevated his reputation, placing him firmly on the radar of Premier League heavyweights. Reports indicate that he previously rejected approaches from several clubs, including sides in England, such as Arsenal and Manunited, as well as interest from Italy and Brazil. His preference had been clear: with Atletico emerging as his desired destination. As noted, he had turned down several teams, some from England, Italy and even Brazil, for the dream of signing for Atletico. However, football's transfer landscape rarely remains static. With negotiations faltering, the possibility of Arsenal or manunited reigniting their interest cannot be dismissed. Both clubs are in phases of squad evolution, and a player of Ederson's profile fits the demands of Premier League intensity. At the heart of the impasse lies Atalanta's valuation. The serious side are willing sellers, but only on their terms. Ederson has been priced at around €45 million, a figure Atletico are reluctant to meet without negotiation. From a strategic perspective, Atletico believe time could work in their favour. Ederson is approaching the final year of his contract, theoretically reducing his market value as the summer progresses. Yet Atalanta's negotiating position remains firm, reinforced by their track record of extracting maximum value for key assets. AS highlights the tension succinctly, pointing out that Atletico are determined not to give in to the demands of agents. This stance reflects a broader discipline in the club's recruitment strategy, but it also risks losing ground in a competitive market. Complicating matters further is Atalanta's urgency to reshape their squad. They are keen to resolve Ederson's future before pre-season, signalling a desire for clarity rather than prolonged negotiations. Despite the current deadlock, the situation remains fluid. Atletico have not abandoned their pursuit, and internal discussions continue as they weigh alternative options. Names such as Mark Bernal have emerged as potential contingencies, though none carry the same profile or immediate impact as Ederson. For the player himself, the scenario presents a delicate balance. He remains open to a move to Madrid, but not at any cost. As reported, he still hopes to arrive at the Metropolitano, but not at any price, a stance that suggests personal terms could be a sticking point. This opens a window of opportunity for Arsenal and manunited. Both clubs possess the financial muscle and sporting appeal to pivot quickly if the deal collapses. In a market where timing is everything, hesitation from one party often invites decisive action from another. Ultimately, Ederson's future will hinge on alignment between valuation, wages and ambition. Atletico's patience may yet pay off, but with Premier League interest lingering, the margin for delay is narrowing. What began as a targeted acquisition has evolved into a multi-club contest, and the next move could define the trajectory of this transfer saga.